Good morning, class. My name is Mr. Forrester. I'm here today to give you all a comprehension lesson on what the main idea of a paragraph is, as well as what are the supporting details. We have three main things to cover in this lesson, as well as one piece of revision that we would have done before. So the first thing we are going to be covering is what is the main idea of any given paragraph that you all would have to read. The second thing that we have will be what the supporting details of that paragraph are. And the final thing will be a little way for us to use what we learned in the first two parts into your own writing. So what is the main idea? The main idea of a paragraph is the primary or main point that the author would like to come across with in his writing. So you as the reader, the idea that I as the writer am trying to convey to you, that will be the main idea of what we are trying to get across. The most important point in that paragraph. It's usually found, or I should say it's sometimes found in the beginning lines of any given paragraph, but that's not always the case, and I want you to keep that in mind because it's going to be important a little bit later, right? So remember I told you all we have a little mini lesson before, a little piece of revision. Well, that's on what the topic of a paragraph is, because it's going to be very important towards the main idea, and I don't want you all to get it confused. So the topic is the person, place, or idea that is being spoken about in the paragraph. It's different from the main idea, so we need to go over it a little bit before. So I have a little piece here called What Does the Crow Know? And we're going to talk about what the topic of that is before we get into the main idea of what it is. So let's read it together and see if we can talk about what the topic is, what it's trying to tell us about. So what does a crow know? Crows are much smarter than you might think. Crows make their own tools. They do this by bending wire or making sticks sharp. Crows also have been known to remember people's faces and warn one another of people that might want to hurt them. So what you need to do when finding the topic of that is look for repeated ideas. So things that you see coming about more than once. And here we have a few. The word crow is repeated 4 times, including in the opening line in the title of that little passage we have there. And crows will be what the topic is. So if I were to give you an assignment to do a paragraph on bats, bats would be your topic. If I told you to do one on cricket, cricket would be your topic. That's the overarching thing that we are talking about in our lesson. It's not the same as of the main idea, and I want you all to remember that. Right. The main idea now tells the reader the main focus. So going back to our example with the bats. So if your topic is bats, but you have to write about why bats are good for the ecosystem, then bats being good for the ecosystem would be your main idea. Bats would be your topic, correct? So we're going to reread this paragraph now, and we're going to see what it is exactly they are trying to tell us about crows. We know that crows are our topic here, but we need to know what the author is actually trying to convey to us about those crows. So see if you can spot it while we're going. So crows are much smarter than you might think. Crows make their own tools. They do this by bending wire or making sticks sharp. Crows have also been known to remember people's faces. They will even warn one another of people that might want to hurt them. So, what do you think the main idea is in that particular paragraph? What is the author trying to convey to you? Look, we even have a little crow questioning his own existence. That's nice. So even the crow wants to know what the main idea is. So what I did is I gave you all 4 different options. We're going to go through the 4 options here, and then I'm going to explain to you, well, after you've had a chance at home to get an answer for yourself, I'm going to explain to you each one as to why it may or may not be the main idea of this paragraph. So let's go through it one more time and read the options that we have. So crows are much smarter than you might think. Crows make their own tools. They do this by bending wire or making sticks sharp. Crows have also been known to remember people's faces. They will warn one another of people that might want to hurt them. So the main idea, what do you think it might be? Let's see our options. Crows are fun animals to have as pets. Crows remember faces well. Crows are smarter than you might think, or some animals use tools like humans do. So I'm going to give you a little while, and I want you to think about what the main idea of this particular paragraph might be from those examples. I promise you it's one of those four. So just think about it for a little while and see if you can get it. Feel free to write the answer down on a piece of paper to make sure. Right? So let's check it out. So the answer is C. Crows are smarter than you might think. So if you look at the paragraph that we have here, every piece of information in that paragraph points towards the same main idea, that crows are intelligent creatures, right? But let's go over A, B, and D, and even C to see why they would not work in this particular piece. So crows are fun animals to have as pets. Why would that not work? If you read through the paragraph, what you will notice is that there's nothing there about keeping crows as pets. Nothing in that entire paragraph points to them being good pets. So you can disregard that immediately, right? Crows remember faces well. It's an interesting fact. I learned it recently. It's very nice. And it is one of the things that would be found in the piece, because they do have mentioned that crows remember people's faces. But what you have to ask yourself, is that the main focus of the lesson? Is that what the author is trying to tell me? Is that the piece of information that the author is trying to bring forth to me? No, it would not be. So let's go with D. Some animals use tools like humans do. So this one, the problem with this one now, it's not crow specific. Remember, whatever you're doing has to stick to your topic of crows in this case. So if you were reading about bats, then what you would do is you'd look for the information about bats. You wouldn't have anything in there talking about cows or hippopotamuses. They would be disregarded because they would not stick to the main idea that you're dealing with. In this case, we are dealing with crows, so the main idea has to be about crows. So C would be your answer. Crows are smarter than you might think. So let's analyze this piece now and see what it's going to tell us to prove that that is actually the main idea of the piece. Right? So first of all, you have the repeated ideas. Everything here is about crows. So crows are smarter than you think. You know it has to be something to do with crows because that's our topic, as we would have spoken about before. And every little bit inside this piece, it repeats that idea over and over. Crows, 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 they are smart, they are smart, they are smart. And as I mentioned initially, crows are much smarter than you might think is the first line. And in this case, this is one of the instances where the first line is your main idea. It's not always the case, but it is usually part of the truth. Okay, so now that we've established what our main idea is, what we need to do is find proof as to that being so. So in this case, we are going to talk about our next initiative, supporting ideas. So what are supporting ideas? So supporting details or supporting ideas are sentences in the paragraph that explain or seek to provide evidence as to the main idea that the reader was going about. So before we go into this one, let's go back to our example with the bats. So bats was our topic. I believe our main idea was supposed to be bats are important to the ecosystem. So what evidence could you use to support that? So think about it. You may know what bats do, what bats eat, what the ecosystem is and how it operates with each other. So think about what you could use to provide evidence to that being the case. So let's see. Off the top of my head, and I'm sure some of you will have the same sort of idea, you have the fact that bats eat some things that we may consider pests, like mosquitoes. So in places where there are lots of mosquitoes, if there are also some bats, bats can eat some of the mosquitoes, they bite you a little bit less and annoy you a little bit less. So that it works out nice, right? So that's one piece of information that could be used as evidence to support, as a supporting detail into the main idea. So let's see. So in this little piece that we have here, the same one about crows, we're going to read and we're going to see what we can find to help prove the main idea that crows are much smarter than we might think, because we've already established that that is the case. That is the main idea. So let's go. So crows are much smarter than you might think. Crows make their own tools. They do this by bending wire or making sticks sharp. Crows have also been known to remember people's faces. They will even warn one another of people that might want to hurt them. So since we know the main idea, what we need to do is go through line by line and see what pieces of evidence now is given to support this. So let's go. So crows are much smarter than you might think. Again, this is the main idea, not a supporting detail. This is the opening statement, what the author is trying to convey to us. So crows make their own tools. So would that prove that the crow is a smart creature? Yes, it surely would. So that's good. So crows making their own tools provides evidence as to their intelligence. So it would be one of the details that you can use to support. And what we have as the continuation, they do this by bending wire or making sticks sharp. That would be an addition to the first line, because what they're doing is they're explaining the way that the crow makes the tools. So good, all of this so far shows how intelligent the crow actually is. So crows have also been known to remember people's faces. So is that a sign of intelligence? Think about it for a second. Yes, in an animal, it would be a sign of intelligence for them to have the ability to remember a face, especially a face that maybe they would not have seen for a little while. And then moving on to that, the last sentence, they will even warn one another of people that might want to hurt them. So, is this a sign of intelligence? Yes, in the way that the crows are doing it, it is. Because what they are doing is deliberately going to their group and warning them and saying, that person is a terror, that boy wants to pelt us with a stone, that girl likes to scream at us, those kinds of things. So they are warning their friends as to what the issues are. So let's see if we got all of them so far. So good, supporting details, crows can make tools, good. They can remember faces, good. And they warn one another, so nice. So every sentence in that particular paragraph backed up the main idea with the evidence that the author had to prove it. So good, we're going good so far. So now, the last main thing that I want to get across to you all in the teaching is how you can use this concept of main idea in your own work. So what we're going to do is we're going to read this new paragraph. It's the same topic of crows being intelligent. It has most of the same information, but there are two things that were added in that I want you to pay special attention to. So while we're doing that, remember, in your own writing, you're going to base your main idea on your topic. If your topic is bats, you're not going to tell me about rats. Right? So have details to support your main idea. The evidence is important, because if you're trying to convey something to the reader, they have to have something to hold on to. They have to have something to use as evidence as to why the stance that you took is a correct one. And any sentences that do not stick to your topic, that do not adhere to your main idea, need to be removed completely. Good. So crows are much smarter than you might think. Crows make their own tools. They do this by bending wire or making sticks sharp. Crows have also been known to remember people's faces. They will even warn one another of people that might want to hurt them. Pigeons are my sister's favorite kind of bird, though. Crows also make changes to fit into a group. For example, when a crow moves from one group to another, it will change the way it caws to better match the sounds of the crows in the group. Okay, so what we have here is your newly revised paragraph with two new pieces of information added in. What you have to ask yourself, are the new ideas based on your main topic? And are they adhering to your main idea? Do you have details there that support that main idea? And is there anything that needs to be removed? So read it through on your own and see if there's any sentence that might not stick as closely as you would like to your main idea. Hopefully you're not at home looking like this little girl, very, very confused. Good. So the sentence that sticks out there that does not belong in this new piece is this one. Pigeons are my sister's favorite kind of bird though. It did not, in fact, stick to your main idea or your topic. One, it's about pigeons. We are not today talking about pigeons. Two, what he's doing there is nothing to do with even the pigeon's relationship to the crew or its intelligence. All it has to do is the fact that pigeons are his sister's favorite bird. So just like this girl, anybody reading that piece would be very confused as to why that's been added in. So in the editing process, that's something that should be removed. So what about the other sentence in the piece now? Let's see if it sticks to the main idea. So the other sentence would be down to the bottom. It would be, crows also make changes to fit into a group. When the crow moves from one group to another, it will change the way it caws to match the songs of the crows in the group. So does this stick to our main topic? Is it about crows? Yes, it's about, you could see it's about crows. Everything in it speaks about that. Does it enhance your main idea? Our main idea is what again? Good, that crows are intelligent creatures. So anything in this sentence needs to convey the intelligence of the crow. So let's see. Crows make changes to fit into groups. Is that something that an intelligent person or animal or creature would do? Yes, it is. So the fact that the crow, after it moved from where it was before to where it is now, decided that, okay, to match up with my new friends, I have to call a little bit different to sound more like them. So that sentence, that particular final sentence, there would be one that you can use. So keep in mind, you're sticking to your main idea. You're removing anything that doesn't fit when editing your work. Good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a whole new one together. Now that you know what the main idea is, that you can find the supporting details, we are going to see if you can pick out the main idea on your own this time without my prompting much. So I want you to read this paragraph with me, and I want you to think about what the main idea might be. There will be options, but before I put them on the screen, I want you to take a little time and think on your own what it might be. Good? So let's read together. George's parents bought a new carpet for the living room. Now, he has to take his shoes off when entering the house. He's also not allowed to eat or drink in the living room anymore. George's fluffy dog isn't allowed to play ball in there either. When his parents got the new carpet, their house got a lot of new rules. I'm going to give you a chance. I want you to read through it again and think about what the main idea might be. You have an idea in your head? Hold it there, keep it there, think about what it might be. And let's see what our options are today. So A, George cannot go in the living room. Think about if it does that match up with what you were thinking it might be. Let's see. B, George's parents don't like the carpet. C, George is a messy eater. And D, George's parents made new rules so that the carpet stays clean. So we have our paragraph, you have the idea in your head, and we have the 4 options that we can go with. So, helpful hint, if you read the paragraph before you read the options, and your answer is the same, the main idea that you were thinking is one of the options, chances are you're on the right track. Because if your idea matches up with a possibility, then you have a good chance that you're doing well. So let's see. George cannot go to the living room. Could that be a main idea? is that they bought a new carpet for the living room, and he has to take off his shoes when entering the house, but they didn't really say that George cannot go to the living room in the piece. George's parents don't like the carpet. Then why did they buy it? Carpet is a new carpet. That has nothing to do with the main idea. That's not there. The carpet exists, but nothing in the paragraph seeks to tell you that they don't like this new carpet that they bought. C, George is a messy eater. It's true. Otherwise, he would be allowed to eat there. But it's not the main idea of the piece. Lastly, George's parents made new rules so that the carpet stays clean. So if you said D, give yourself a round of applause, because that would in fact be your main idea. George's parents made new rules. So in this case, as I mentioned before, I told you all to keep something in your mind. The main idea was not in fact the first line of this paragraph. It was actually found closer to the end, right? But everything in this paragraph sought to tell you the main idea, which is that the house has a whole bunch of new rules. So that's the next thing we're going to do together. We're going to get the supporting details of this paragraph and see if they stick to that main idea well. Right. So details that support this main idea. Right? 1. George has to take off his shoes now when entering his house. So in the paragraph, the way it's conveyed to you, it wasn't something that would have been happening before. So this is one of the new rules that would have been introduced in the house. You're coming in, we have brand new carpet, we're trying to keep this carpet clean, your shoes are dirty, take them off. New rule 1. He is also not allowed to eat or drink in the living room anymore. That word anymore, those words anymore, are very important because they state for fact that this is a new occurrence in this house. It was not something that was going on before. Before he would have been allowed to eat or drink, but since they've gotten this new carpet, eat somewhere else. George's fluffy dog isn't allowed to play ball in there either. So, another piece of supporting information that shows that there's another new rule. So these rules seek to tell you that, okay, George, the way things were before, a lot of things have changed and rules have been added to the household. So good job on what you just did. Very, very, very good job. Let's go over one more time everything that we would have learned today, all the important bits, and I saved the best one for the end, the most important one for the end. So 1, the main idea of a paragraph is the primary or main point the author is trying to communicate to the reader about the topic. So whatever your topic is, your main idea has to be based on or around that. Any information you convey has to be around your topic, and you have to stick to whatever you are trying to convey to your reader. Good? Supporting details are sentences in the paragraph that explain or seek to provide evidence to back up the main idea. So you have your main idea based upon your topic, and now what you have to do is to provide evidence to the reader as to why your stance is correct, why you have chosen to write about this particular thing. When you are writing your own work, make sure to stick to the main idea and the topic as well. Do not stray at all. But if you do, what you have to do is to remove that line. So it's important to reread your work, because the first time you read it, it may sound fine to you, or when you're writing it, it may sound fine to you. And then when you go over it, you find that there are things that you could have removed, bits and pieces that do not belong in the lesson, in the paragraph that you are writing. And lastly, crows are really, really smart. That was my favorite lesson point from today. So I want to thank you all very much. You all have been a wonderful class, and you all can learn more at learn.moe.gov.tt. Thank you. Mm-hmm.